Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafter, welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to show you how I made this card. For this card I used the Papercraft Society Box 30 and I loved the papers on this and the stamp. This is the inside of the card and you can see we have a wiper mechanism where our Easter wishes pops up when you open the card. So I'm calling this an inside wiper card. So we're going to make one of these, but we're going to use the Papercraft Society box number 29, and that's the one designed by Christina Griffiths from Card Making Magic. So I hope you like my card. Let's go ahead and make one. So in the box we get 2 stamp sets and a die set, and this is how I keep mine in my craft room. I put the stamps on 300 GSM and into these wallets, and the dies then are on 300 GSM as well, but there's a magnetic sheet. So from the die set I used this die, it's an ivy die, and I cut the ivy out in many different coloured green cardstock. So what I don't use for this card, I'll keep them with the products and I'll be able to use them on another card. I also use this die here and the little flower piece that comes with it. And this is how it looks when it's die cut out. I used green card for the base and then a pink card for the little flower. And as you can see here, there's coloured inside this. If you leave the piece of cardstock in the die and then use a blending brush through the holes in the die, you get that lovely effect. So I have a couple of these made. I made 3 in dark green colored cardstock and 1 in the light green, which you just saw earlier, and I have the little seed beads in these, and we got those in the kit, and I'll show you how I added the seed beads to my little flower. So these are going to be the focal points on the front of my card. I use this large heart stamp for the 3 of them, and I also used some of the sentiments from the stamps. So the loads of is from up here. There's the love. The loads of is there. The mum, I got that from a stamp in my stash. I used the little heart stamp, which has like leaves going around the outside, and you can see that here. And then I stamped in the very light green another little stamp I used, and that one was just there. So that's how I embellished my 3 lovely hearts. I have some foam tape behind them and I'm going to put them on the front of the card with the ivy. This one I used the die to die cut this out. I used the this die here, this edging die, which gives you a full piece, and I die cut that out in pink. Then I used this die here, the large one, I die cut out in white. And then I used this stamp here to stamp around the top and the bottom here. And I also used the long line of leaves, this one here, and I just put some ink on 3 of the sprigs on this to go under the mum, and that embellishes the heart that's going to pop up on our wiper section. To make this card I have a piece of 10 by 7 cardstock and I've scored it at 5. That'll give us a 5 by 7 card base, or you can use a ready-made one, and that's what this one is here. Now on top of this we're going to use some mats and layers. I have some pink cardstock. This measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. We'll want 2 of those. And I have this piece of the vellum. It measures 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. And I will put double-sided tape on the whole of that vellum piece and then stick that down. So inside I have used some of the stamps to embellish this. I have used the beautiful ivy stamp, and I have used this on the 4 corners of my card inside. I've also used the hearts, which is on the other stamp set, as well as this lovely one here for the top and bottom. The sentiment inside is a card making magic sentiment. It's perfect panels and lovely layers collection, and it's the most special thing about this card is the person I made it for. So now I have this strip, and it's part of the mechanism that's inside the card. It measures 6 3/4 by 2 inches, and I've scored it at 1, 4 3/4, 5 3/4. And we'll burnish those score lines into mountain folds. And this will sit inside our card. This will go against the left side of our card, like so. And then the others will fold around, so we have a tab that sits on the bottom of our card. It's kind of hard to show you like that, but it'll go inside like this, and then our mechanism will attach to this, and it is where it pops up from. Now there are dies for making a wiper card. They're by the Made to Surprise Sam Calcott. I'll leave links to all the products that I use below, but you don't need dies to make this card. Okay, so that's part of the mechanism. We also need the wiper part, and for that I have this piece here. It measures 3 3/4 by 2, and we want to score this at 1 inch at the bottom. So I'm going to leave a little marker there, and then I'm going to rotate it around and put a little marker at 1 inch there, because we want to make this triangle piece on the corner. So I'll join up those two marks, and that'll give us this little corner tab at the bottom, and that is going to attach onto this piece. The inch piece there is the same width as the inch on the long strip, and when they're glued together it allows our little piece, our wiper piece or the mechanism piece, to pop up. So we'll lie that down there like so, and I've zoomed in so you can see, and that way then when we open the card, this piece here will then lift up, and I'll show you that once we start to assemble our card. Okay, so I have some mats and layers here. This piece will measure 3 3/4 by 4.5, and my white piece will measure 3.5 by 4.25. Now these pieces are bigger. I end up cutting them down for a finish, but I'm giving you the correct measurements. So now it's time to glue down our mats and layers, and this pink piece of cardstock is going on the front. I'm gluing it down using my Kalal glue. Kalal glue, when it dries, it goes rock solid and it'll give strength to our card. For the vellum, myself personally, I like to put double-sided sticky tape all over the back of a piece of vellum. That way when I stick it down in place, you can't see where it's been stuck down. I find if you use glue or just put little dots of liquid glue behind colored pieces on a vellum, you know, you have pieces that are lifted that aren't stuck down, but this way the whole piece is stuck down and you really wouldn't know the difference. Now it's a matter of assembling all my pieces for the front of the card, and I've left this piece in for you to see. It's definitely a process when I am embellishing the front of a card, and that's what I do here. I have my hearts on phone tape, so there's a bit of dimension on the front of the card and they're lifted up. I'm gluing down then all my little die cut out pieces, my ivy and the little pieces with my flowers on them. And I love the die that die cuts out the flowers, because if you look at a lot of the dies in your stash, you'll find that there's openings in the die, and some of those openings, if you use a blending brush or a finger dauber and some ink, you can actually embellish your piece of die cut card. So it has, like my little flowers, it's got little embellished pieces inside it. And I just think that's fabulous. You know, it saves me having to colour it in or try and give it the look of dimension. You can also see here that I have the little seed beads in my flowers, and to do that I just use some glossy accents. I put a good little drop of glossy accents in and then add the seed beads onto it, and that then once it's dry, those little beads aren't going to go anywhere. I'm using the darker green and lighter green ivy that I've cut out. I have die cut out 3 different colors, but I kind of stuck with just the 2 colors for a finish. And you can see as well, I'm cutting some of the ivy to size and I'm trimming off some of the pieces on it just to give that, you know, look of, I suppose I wanted it to look like different ivies twining together. And I think it looks lovely. I'm also using my Cosmic Shimmer glue to glue down these pieces rather than the Kalal glue. I suppose I really want them to stick more or less in place once I place them down. So you can see there's, you know, I've sped this up, and there's a lot of kind of faffing going on with where I'm putting it and how many layers I'm putting on. I'm trying to find a very fine balance with a card, and everyone's different. I suppose I could have just put on the dark green ivy, and some of you are thinking, oh, that's enough, Simone, that's enough, stop there. And then others are saying, oh, that's lovely, add more, add more. So it's really down, I suppose, to personal taste how you decorate a card. And if you have a recipient in mind, you know what you think they might like. So this one is for my mum, and I think she will really like that. Okay, this is now our mechanism pieces. So I have used double-sided red liner tape on this, and it's a quite a wide tape. It's really handy. I'm also going to add some of my Cosmic Shimmer glue over this, along where there isn't any double-sided tape and just around the edges of the double-sided tape. I'm bringing this piece up in line with the center score line in our card base. And once I know that's nice and straight, I'm just going to fold the card closed. Now that then will attach this piece onto the left-hand side of our card base. Next, then we want to attach the right hand tab, and I have red liner tape just on the end tab here. Again, I'm going to use some liquid glue with that, but I thought I would add in the wiper mechanism now. You can add it in after the other side is glued down, but I think it would be easier for you to see, and I've slowed it right down as to where I'm putting it. So it's just on that little corner is where we want to add our adhesive. Now again, you can use some red liner tape. I'm using some liquid glue. You can't see that because I zoomed in, so that piece isn't seen. So you can see there I've put it right into that inch tab that we've stuck down, and then that will fold over. So make sure you allow time for your glue to dry before you go fussing with it, which I did. And now I'm going to add a little bit of my liquid glue onto my double-sided tape. That'll give me a bit of wiggle room, but once I add the pressure down, then it'll be stuck down solid. So you can see I folded the tab underneath, and now I'm just pressing that down into place. So this is how our mechanism will work. So now I have left that a little minute to set for the glue to go off, and this is how our wiper mechanism works. Now the height of the mechanism, you can cut this down depending on what you're adding to it, and you can also cut off pieces of it. For a finish, you'll see a white piece of the cardstock there, and I'm using the liquid glue here so I can move my piece around. I want to make sure it slides under the front piece there. So I can see that this will fit in. I just need to add a little bit of glue there to the tip. And you can see there then that white piece to the right hand side. I'm going to cut that off around where the heart comes to the point. I will cut that off later so you don't see it. Now my cut down panel, I have an arrow here showing you. This will not sit right up against the left hand side of the card. I've left a gap, and the reason for that is the card needs to be able to open and close, and you can see that the panel doesn't stick out when the card is closed either. It sits nicely between the two, so make sure you leave that little gap on the left hand side when you're sticking that down. When you open the card then you should see our lovely little heart with the mum on it pop up lovely and easily from behind that panel. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I put my seed beads into my little flower, and like I said earlier, I just add a dollop for want of a better word of my glossy accents, and then I add my little seed beads into that. To embellish it then as well, I'm going to use some of my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen on some of the leaves, not all of them, just some of them, so that when the card is tilted in the light, you'll get a lovely little random sparkle from some of the leaves. So I've done a little video now for you to see how our card looks for a finish. I'm so pleased with this and I hope my mum likes it. I think it's so pretty and I know she'll love these colors. And then when we open the card, our little mom heart pops up, and you can see there I cut away the excess white cardstock on the bottom right of the heart, so it's just the heart that pops up. So there's our make for today, a beautiful 5x7 pop-up inside wiper card. I hope you liked my video. If you did, you might consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. If not, you might consider clicking on the bell icon down below and you'll be notified each time I post a new video. So finally, here's two images of the cards, one that inspired using box 30 and the one we made using box 29 of the Papercraft Society kit. So until next time folks, thanks for watching, stay safe and bye for now.